Hey everyone, Tim Schofield here, and it's time to take a look at the latest iPad Pro from Apple. It just came out. It's actually their thinnest device they've ever made. I also did pick up the brand new Magic Keyboard, which in my opinion definitely needed an update, so I'm excited to test out the new features and the new design. You'll see behind me, I have my old iPad Pro with that Magic Keyboard, so we can compare those side by side. And yes, I have the new Apple Pencil Pro here, so we'll test out some of these features. This iPad Pro has Apple's latest M4 chipset, which is really interesting because it's the only device in their lineup that you can get the M4 in, which, you know, you'd think the latest one would be in their MacBooks potentially, but it's not. It's in the iPad, so it's a different type of move from Apple. I'm curious to see where they go forward with their lineup of chipsets. Anyways, let's dive into it, take a quick look at what we get in the box of all of these products, and then of course get some hands-on with the M4 iPad Pro. Let's get started. Here is the new iPad Pro from Apple. It does come in 11 and 13 inches along with silver or space black. I went with the 13-inch Wi-Fi variant. Apple gives you an option for the nano texture glass, which gives it a more matte look. I actually went with the more standard glass, so a glossy look, because that's just what I prefer. But we'll talk more on that in just a little bit and give an example of what I'm talking about. So let's take this out of the paper here. This is so light. I can't get over it. I think it's just over a pound. And look at how thin that is. That's actually crazy that Apple's latest processor is in such a thin and light tablet. Setting it to the side for just a second, let's see what else we get. Designed by Apple in California. No stickers inside, but a getting started guide and information. You have your USB Type-C charging brick, which you'll notice is a 20-watt charging brick, and I don't actually know how fast these tablets can charge up to. So if anybody actually can find that info, drop a comment, let me know. I looked all over and can't seem to find the max charging speeds of the iPad Pro. But it also does come with a USB Type-C to USB Type-C cable as well. Anyways, let's boot our iPad Pro up for the first time. And while it turns on, let's actually do a quick unboxing of our Magic Keyboard. The new Magic Keyboard comes in white or black. I went with white because I got the silver variant iPad Pro, and just giving you some information about it here. Inside, we have the new Magic Keyboard. And here it is. They have an etched in Apple logo right there. Slap for the camera and you can angle it back. It does have that really nice soft touch feel that the previous Magic Keyboard. However, there is definitely some build differences between the two. Inside here we have some information. Let's see what's inside. Just your standard booklets. Right away, I can already tell the difference is a larger trackpad here, aluminum in the wrist rest, plus a function row. Finally, I've been trying to type on a function row on my other iPad for so long. There's more to it. We'll touch on this in just a second. Last but not least, our Apple Pencil Pro. Sliding this out, again, designed by Apple in California. Getting started guide, standard booklets, and of course the pencil wrapped in some paper. Let's take that off. Clearly says Pencil Pro has a flat side to it here to attach to your iPad, and that is it. Now, before we run through the startup process, let's take a quick look at the hardware. So down at the bottom, first of all, look at how thin this is, 5.1 millimeters. It's crazy thin. You've got 4 speakers total. Here's 2 on the bottom with that USB Type-C port. The bottom of the tablet actually doesn't really have anything. And then on the other side are your other 2 speakers and a microphone. Moving along, you also notice the power button is in that upper left-hand corner when holding it horizontally, and then up towards the top here are the volume rockers. Make note, just a little bit of a camera bump. And then moving along here, the center here, this is the magnet for your Apple Pencil. So that's where you will set it. At the top, another microphone. Along the back, you have a connector for that Magic Keyboard. It does say iPad Pro. A close look at that silver color with a more reflective Apple logo, and here's that camera module. So this is a 12 megapixel wide angle lens with up to 5 times digital zoom. Okay, it's time. I'm gonna run through the startup process, talk about anything that's noteworthy, and then we'll get it connected to the Magic Keyboard and our Apple Pencil. I do see my other iPad offering to quick setup this tablet, but I'm going to skip this for now. There is a software update you can choose to install, so while this is installing, I wanna give you an example of a sort of what you'll notice the difference of between a glossy and their nano texture. So you'll see very reflective right there with that light. But now this is my old iPad Pro Check out, how much more muted it is in comparison. Not quite as clear. It sort of diffuses that light. That's because I have a screen protector on this one. And I can link to that if you have interest in it down below. But you'll notice the cutouts here because this is more of like typing on a piece of paper. It actually feels really nice. If you do a lot of Apple Pencil work, definitely consider that nano texture just with that more matte display. It diffuses the light. It doesn't reflect as bad as a glossy display. By the way, this is the 2020 model iPad Pro, in case you were wondering. I also want to point out the camera position is right here on the side, so as if you were holding it vertically, whereas on the new iPad Pro, that front-facing camera is right here. It's a landscape ultra-wide 12 megapixel camera, which makes a lot more sense, honestly, having it right here because you're going to probably be taking your calls in landscape mode on a larger tablet as opposed to portrait mode. Okay, our update is complete. Let's continue through and set up Face ID. This is always fun to attempt to do while there's a camera in front of me. Get started, position your face. That actually looks pretty good. Move the iPad a little lower. Okay. It's struggling. I do have a lot of light behind me too, which kind of makes a lot of sense. So there we go. Move your head in a circle. First Face ID scan complete. Continue through. This obviously would be a lot easier without this big camera right in front of my face. There we go. Second scan is complete. You of course have the option to choose between light, dark, and auto. And welcome to our iPad. There we go. I just set it up clean. I didn't actually do a restore of any of my data, but here it is. A close-up of that Ultra Retina XDR display. It's actually a tandem OLED display, which is why they said it needed the M4 chip to power multiple OLED displays. In terms of resolution, it's 2752 by 2064. This display goes from 10 hertz to 120 hertz, so it looks very fluid with that higher refresh rate. I also do like to turn off True Tone in settings. It gives it a little more cooler look in general as opposed to a warmer display, more true colors overall. Anyways, here is iPad OS. Seems like a ton of power to have with iPad OS. Now with the wallpaper, you can customize current ones with colors, gradients, blurs, or you can add new ones, a ton of different ones, weather, photo shuffle featured. So now let's grab our Apple Pencil and get it connected. It will recognize it, get everything synced up for us. Welcome to Apple Pencil Pro. You can squeeze it, switch between tools with a gesture, scribble. Let's continue on through. Hover over the screen and squeeze the Apple Pencil. It's only at 18%, so it will need to charge up, but hover over and squeeze. Ooh, a nice little haptic feedback. I like that quite a bit. How it's going to impact battery, I'm not too sure yet, but hover over the screen and keep squeezing. Oh my gosh, I really do like Apple's just the best at their haptic feedback, hands down. Continue through, try scribble, pencil that hello, subscribe to the channel, boom. Oh, not subset, come on. Anyways, delete, scratch out a word to quickly delete it. So if I just go like that, boom. Selecting, draw a line over a word to select it, or multiple, circle to select it. So if I circle these, oh, boom, there we go. So a line, insert, cool, join characters or words. So again, this is gonna take some time and there's a bit of a learning curve to it. So just kind of make note of all of these things and maybe force yourself to do some of these so that you get it down. The iPad will also recognize when you're hovering over items. You'll notice a little subtle animation of the icons kind of popping out. And if you do select one, it will jump right into it. Apple Pencil Pro is now connected. Can go either way. It can go left or right, of course, but let's grab our Magic Keyboard. Quick side-by-side with the old Magic Keyboard. It does look fairly similar. Notice the aluminum housing where the hinge is there. And opening it up, the angle is just about the exact same, but like I mentioned, there are definite differences, especially when it comes to the keyboard. You'll see that trackpad's a little bit small. It has that more softer touch feel here instead of the metal, and absolutely no function row. So they actually just sort of added it towards the top, which I was surprised they didn't do in the first place. You'll see just a little bit less space there, but very useful to have. The trackpad's a little bit different, so listen. You can hear it clicking, but they have added a glass trackpad with haptic feedback, and it's larger, so right now, you can't hear anything. However, it will give you haptic feedback once our iPad's connected. So let's grab our iPad. Our iPad Pro has a lot of magnets, so this should connect very easily. It's very strong, connected right away. Now, if we wanted to close it, it will fold down and then push all the way down. And here's a quick look. With it completely folded, obviously completely protected now. Now, one thing I want to do, like I do in all of my laptop unboxing tests, is just a quick little one-handed opening test. I absolutely do not expect this to pass. I'm going to try and do this. I mean, it's going to be so challenging. Oh, okay. That actually kind of worked, but it was kind of a challenge to just get in between with one hand in general. So two hands is probably going to have to be the way. But actually, check that out. If you can figure out a way to sort of start to lift it up, once it's started to lift up, I can do it with one hand. There we go. You'll see I'm struggling here, but look at that. It actually doesn't lift off. So that's a little crazy. I'm a little bit impressed that and then when you go to angle it, there's where you need to sort of push down there to angle it. So, you know, good attempt. Now let's test that face unlock real quick. Okay, I put my face in frame, unlocked right away as expected. We could try that once more. So now with it locked, unlock in frame. Wow, that's really, really quick, which is what I'm hoping for with future iPhones as well. I really want that face unlock to improve a little bit in speed. I've got to admit that keyboard looks great attached to that iPad Pro. The display is insane. So again, this touchpad has haptic feedback and gesture controls. You can hold up and it will go to your recent apps. And the haptic feedback's really nice. If you've ever used a MacBook before, that is what it's reminding me of, that feedback that you get when you are pressing down on the touchpad. As usual, a quick typing sound test. Okay, really good actually. I like the feedback that I get, a decent amount of travel as well. And our much needed shortcuts up at the top, even an escape key is just so key to have. Changing the brightness without having to move your hand up to the screen, and even the volume, having to press the buttons, just wasn't my favorite. Having quick shortcuts at the top was a necessary change. So thanks, Apple. You also get a lot of quick shortcuts with the keyboard. Let's reconnect. Oh, it's already at 41%. So the Pencil Pro charges very fast. So like Command Space is going to jump up to a search, which was the solution in the past without the function row. So now grabbing our Pencil Pro, if we do a quick little squeeze, we can go to an eraser and I can erase these marks that I made. If you double press, you can switch between different writing utensils. So now it's at the pencil high, and just, you know, very, very accurate. One of, if not honestly, the best pencil tablet combo you can get. And again, you can even write. So if I do write subscribe, let's see if it actually does it. Subside. Dang it, I can't spell subscribe. Actually, my handwriting is just very, very bad. So how about hi? All right, I got that one. This is just a quick overview, but a lot of creative tools and features that you have with the Pencil Pro. And back to our iPad Pro. So obviously you have full access to the apps in the App Store, and even Final Cut is now on the iPad with a subscription model, which, you know, I would have preferred it not to be a subscription model, of course, since I've already bought it on my MacBook. I know I talked about how fast that face unlock is, but let's dive into the actual camera app, where there's a rear camera here to take some quick pictures, very little shutter speed. You can zoom in up to 5 times with that rear camera. Also, when you switch over to video, I'd like to point out you can shoot all the way up to 4K 60 frames per second on the rear. You have slow-mo, time-lapse, and then portrait. Okay, so portrait actually flips the camera. I don't actually think you can do portrait mode on the rear camera. That seems a little strange that isn't an option. Square and pano are also an option, but now we're on the front-facing camera. What I wanted to point out was that the camera lens is right here now. So that's great to see, a definite improvement, better than the two sides. The angle looks a lot better, and it just makes more sense for a tablet of this side. Now, video on this lens is limited to 1080p 60 frames per second, so you can't shoot 4K video. If we do want to take a quick picture with it, the lighting is really bad right now. Let's even try a portrait mode shot. Okay, let's look at that. You know, not that great. Again, this is super harsh lighting coming in, so I didn't expect too much. It's not too bad with the cutout overall. You know, it does the trick. I'm going to be using this probably mainly for video calls. I'm probably not going to take a lot of selfies with my tablet. And then you can also switch it to that rear facing camera for a little bit better of, quality. I'd also like to go back into settings and go to multitasking and gestures. You can turn it off, but split view and slide over is something iPad OS has. So if you have an app, you can press and drag it, and it will open up in just a smaller little window here. You can go back to your other app, and it will always be there on the side of your screen. But you can also use Stage Manager with your recent apps and docs. So that's just another way to multitask on your iPad. Same sort of gesture to use. You can just press and hold an app in the dock, open it up, and now you can sort of go back and forth, and they're open in the background as opposed to, going completely off the screen. So it's up to you on how you want to use it. There are definitely gestures as well, productivity gestures, 4 and 5 finger swipe to undo. So if you go to 4 and 5 fingers, you can, swipe back and forth between the notes, the gestures. This is kind of locked together to go back and forth, but you'll notice a quick way to multitask. That Apple Pencil has settings where your squeeze action doesn't have to show the palette. You can switch between a tool and eraser, show color palette, ink attributes, shortcut, and how sensitive the squeezing is. If you don't want it, you can turn it off. Double tap, again, same thing. You can change and customize the shortcut. One more thing I'd like to try out. The monitor I have is a 5K monitor, and this iPad supports up to a 6K monitor, so let's get that plugged in. We're gonna go handheld for this part, but this is my Dell UltraSharp 40 5K monitor. Now, what we're gonna do is get our iPad Pro plugged in to this monitor, and we're gonna do this on the fly. Sorry about the movement, but just wanna make sure you can see how this works when you do plug something in. Oh, it actually already detected it. Are you connecting a pair of headphones? I'm gonna just say other device, Stage Manager with an external display. You can use screen mirroring or use Stage Manager. It's sort of up to you. We can use Stage Manager for now, but this is what it looks like on a 5K resolution, ultra wide monitor. And of course, you know me, going into our settings, there it is, our Dell monitor. You can change the display mode, so allow display mode changes. It will match the dynamic range and frame rate of the content you're viewing. So anyways, really nice that it can power this monitor, and I believe up to 2 other monitors if need be. So anyways, there you have it. That's it for me on the new iPad Pro with the M4 chip from Apple. A lot more content coming soon, so be sure to subscribe. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up as well. And as always, thanks for watching.